God's choice or the people's choice? We have a worldwide democratic structure in the church, but it was never thought of as popular democracy. The real goal of our votes is that everyone personally listens to God's voice and casts his vote accordingly. By listening to God's voice, it makes God's will known through the vote. We certainly pray before taking part in any board meetings. Often the opportunity is given before a vote is cast for personal prayer, so that it becomes clear to each person how God wants them to vote. Nehemiah said, "Then my God put it into my heart," Nehemiah 7:5. Ellen White said about Nehemiah chapter 1, "And as he prayed, a holy purpose had been forming in his mind." Southern Watchman, March 1, 1904. Will a carnal Christian hear God's voice? If he hasn't consciously and completely surrendered to the Lord, then he certainly won't get an answer. See Psalm 66, verse 18, and Psalm 25, verse 12. If someone who is a carnal Christian votes sincerely to the best of his knowledge, then humanly speaking, it is okay. But the instant human agreements are made, it becomes manipulation and sin. The leaders have a great influence on God's work. It definitely makes a big difference and can have major consequences if brothers and sisters are leading who've been called by God or who have been chosen by a human vote. While reading a book on prayer, I realized that we may ask God to show us the way we should go. Psalm 32:8. The quiet listening to God's voice changed my whole life. I tell about this experience in an article called From Business Representative to Pastor. There is also a good sermon to listen to from Kurt Hassel, How Can I Make the Right Decisions? And there's also a profound sermon to read from years ago by Henry Drummond, How Can I Know God's Will? Here is an experience that happened on October 23, 2014. The Mission Center, Country Life Institute in Austria, in Carinthia, Austria, was faced with a decision. Should we build an addition or not? There were a lot of things for it and against it. The crucial question was, what is God's will in the matter? We didn't discuss the pros and cons anymore, but rather prayed for 10 days that the Lord would prepare us to hear his voice and that he would give us his answer at a prayer meeting on October 23, after the New Start guest had left. The question was whether we should build the addition or not. The prayer meeting took place with more than 20 participants. After fellowshipping in prayer, each person asked God in silence to tell him if they should or should not build. The personal answers from God were shared with the group as follows. On a piece of paper, they should write plus when they should build. They should write minus when they shouldn't build. They should write 0 when they had no answer, and they should write a question mark together with the other symbol when they were unsure of the answer. The result was a sign of God's wonderful leading. There were 14 pluses, 4 of these with a question mark. There were 6 zeros and 4 blank pieces of paper. There were also 2 answers, which were unclear and not counted. God's leading was very clear that we should build. I am convinced that we will directly seek God's counsel more and more in the last days. Joel 2:28 and 29 indicates this. Ellen White comments in The Desire of Ages, page 363, we must individually hear him speaking to the heart. When every other voice is hushed, and in quietness we wait before him, the silence of the soul makes more distinct the voice of God. He bids us, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10, unquote.